on a rainy day, incidentally, in both, in many places in India and in London also. And we are here today to listen to a fantastic personality, fantastic hospitality personality about a wonderful topic. Before I kind of go ask Chef John to come and start talking to you, I know many of you have already seen him, you've known him from the YCO days. But at the same time, I would like to tell you a little bit more about what Chef John has been doing. He has a fantastic, meritorious career behind him. If I want to, I was thinking of introducing him in a nutshell, but then how can you introduce somebody in a nutshell who has so much behind him? He is a chef who has a Michelin star, who has four double A rosettes behind him, who has been marked 8 out of 10 in the Good Food Guide. He's a chef who has his career spanning through Europe, Asia, South Africa, Dubai. He has worked in five-star deluxe hotels all his early career. He's worked in the remarkable hotels where people would generally give a limb to work at: the Savoy, the Dorchester, the Clevedon hotels in the UK. He was the executive chef at Burj Dubai, which is one of the finest deluxe hotels anywhere in the world ever built. And he's also worked on the other side. He's worked as a food and beverage director of the Groove Hotel in the UK. And he has also, been an entrepreneur since. He worked in a hugely successful restaurant called Chapter One, for whom he also opened Chapter Two again in the UK. And now, for quite some time, he is an entrepreneur himself, and he started his own large consultancy called John Wood Consultancy. And at the same time, he has developed one of the most widely used software systems anywhere in the world for hospitality, which is called Kitchen Cut. And to listen to somebody who has developed Kitchen Cut from his experience for over, almost 3 decades now, it will be wonderful to know from Chef John about the topic that has been earmarked for him, that he's thankfully agreed to speak to all of you, is technology in hospitality, right? So I'm sure, I was very excited when I was told to introduce him to all of you. And also, when I came to know about the topic that he's going to talk about, we have been talking a lot about Kitchen Cut since the YCO days. And I must tell you, as a user, it is one of the finest that I've ever seen in the 30 years of my career. Of course, there have been technological developments over the last 30 years, but there is nothing like Kitchen Cut anywhere across the world. So, stopping here, I would like to welcome, on behalf of the management, on behalf of all the directors, on behalf of all the teaching staff, and everybody here at IIHM, a very warm welcome to our own Chef John Wood. Thank you very much, Chef John, for agreeing to speak to our students today. We are really looking forward to a fantastic session with you today. Over to you, Chef.
Thank you very much, Sanjay. That's a wonderful introduction. And welcome, everyone. And thank you for taking time out of your day to let me talk to you about this particular subject, which we're talking today about: technology. Technology is widely used across the industry and getting more and more used, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But it's interesting how, over the sort of 37 years of working in this industry across multiple different types of businesses, from restaurants to hotels to catering businesses, and I've consulted a lot, through the US and Southeast Asia and the Middle East as well. And technology is something that's really sort of moved on hugely over the years. But firstly, I wanted to sort of go back and sort of talk about some sort of interesting stats about the industry. There's a lot of catering businesses that actually don't make profit in the first 12 months. So as people that are setting up restaurants, they have to invest hugely in setting this up, in setting the restaurant up, building the kitchens, rent and rates, and there's a lot of costs that go into that. So it's interesting to know that a lot of businesses that we speak to and restaurateurs that are setting up restaurants new as part of that actually plan to not make any profit in the first 12 months. Two of the largest costs that are in hospitality are the food and beverage element of it. So the cost of buying the products and the food and drink products, but also the payroll costs, which are huge. In hotels, the most complicated and challenging department to run is food and beverage. Some may argue in other departments, but the complexity in food and beverage is really quite tough, and it is difficult within food and beverage to make a profit in hotel restaurants because of the amount of labor that's needed, the cost of the products, and having to manage that over a long period of time and cover breakfast, lunch, afternoon tea, dinner, and also work through the night. A lot of these top hotels will offer 24-hour room service, which is extremely demanding on food and beverage operations.
He's already started speaking, so I'll just say.
It's really important from a sort of financial control point of view is to sort of know your figures, understanding what those costs are, and also to ensure with your people that you've got inside your business that you maximize productivity. So having lots of chefs, and I've worked in very large teams up to 500 chefs in Dubai, where we had 37 restaurants. And at that stage, when I was in Dubai running the two hotels, which were the Jumeirah Beach Hotel and the Burj Al Arab, we were generating about $750,000 a day in food turnover. So managing that is extremely complex, and trying to do that across multiple operations with multiple cuisines is really important to understand, the complexity of something like that. But actually, when you break it down, it is quite simple. It is 37 outlets. We did have huge banqueting facilities up to 5,000 people, but each one would run individually, and there would be a head chef in each one, and there will be a sous chefs and the whole sort of process, restaurant manager and assistant restaurant managers, and each one of these operations would work individually. And what was really important about productivity is ensuring that the teams within the operations were actually being productive the whole time that they were working. Having recipes costed and menus costed is really important from a financial control point of view, and also keeping control on waste. Food waste is a really hot topic, and I've always been obsessed about it as a chef, knowing that the work that goes into generating food, and not only from a supplier and a grower's point of view, and the farmers, but also from the operations and getting the food to these hotels and restaurants, and then the work that's involved, internally in these kitchens to produce this food, and then having to waste this is really quite criminal. And it's also about understanding how you make these menus work for you as part of that, and how you sort of deal with that. The people part of it, a lot of people don't realize that actually up to 50% costs of everything you make. So you sell something for $1, 50 cents is going to go on just the people that you employ. And that's about salaries, that's about training, that's expenses, and all the items. And in some operations, that can go up to 60 or 70%. So a lot of people think that running businesses and setting up restaurants, is easy. It's not. And the reason why I wanted to talk about sort of finance and understanding that is extremely important to understand that the control of this is really, really important. And I'll come on to the technology element a little bit later. And it's like I say, it's ensuring that the teams are being productive and they're working the time that they're meant to be there, and they're being sort of coached and trained and mentored into their positions so they can maximize their time that they're working within the operations. And giving clear direction of what people should be doing. I've always been obsessed from an operations point of view that, you know, from a leadership, you need to give clear directions to teams so people know what's expected of them and when they need to do that as well. And ensuring people are trained correctly is the key thing about that is people need to be trained. And they need to be told how they need to do things and how they need to work through the operations. Like I wanted to come back to sort of wastage. So wastage is extremely important part of the business to monitor and manage. And in the food and beverage business, I always refer it to as this silent profit killer. Wastage happens in every business. And there's a lot of wastage that's happening both from a food and beverage point of view, and that from an ethical point of view is not good because we're having to then transport, produce, and take all these products to hotels and restaurants all over the world. We're flying produce all over the world, which has an effect ethically on the world as we know it. And also then to waste food, given that there's so many people that are struggling and living on the bread line and looking to and struggling just to have food that can take them through the day. So I've always been really obsessed about it, and it is a global issue. It's not just certain countries. It is a global issue, whether you're in the UK or the US or Southeast Asia or Australia, doesn't matter. It is a huge issue. 75% of all waste can be avoided. So when you think about in operations, and the food that's going out, and when you start to go out into the industry and you see the waste that's going out from a food point of view, 75% of that can be avoided. And it's going to, it's what's going to happen is it's continuously getting worse, and people are becoming more and more aware of it. But it is getting worse with more operations opening up and people not controlling that. In the United States alone, there's about 25.2 million tons of food are wasted each year in just restaurants and hotels. That is not in households, that is just hotels and restaurants in the US. And these figures, when you start to look at this, it is just astonishing to sort of think about it. And this is some of the sort of UK figures to sort of put it in perspective. So in the UK, just the UK, small country, we're not big. We've got only 60 million people living here, but we produce 2.87 million tons of food waste just coming from the industry. And 1.3 billion meals are wasted every year. That's 1 in 6. So you're in a restaurant industry, 1 in 6 of those meals are wasted. And that's 920,000 tons of food is wasted at outlets each year. And as I mentioned, 75% of that is avoidable. So this is a really sort of important part to understand how to do this and how to deal with this because it is a global issue. And the cost of this was estimated at 2.5 billion in 2011. And in 2016, it's now 3 billion. So it is a huge, huge figure. And just from one small country like the UK, with a smaller population than most countries, these are huge figures. And a lot of this wastage can be avoided, and it's knowing how to manage that as part of it. In the USA, 80 billion pounds worth of food is discarded into landfills every year. And that's accounting for 37% of the waste. So that's a huge amount that's putting into landfills in the US. There's also, the question is, where is waste happening? These are huge figures. Where is waste happening within that? And these are just, very simple areas that when we look at this, is a lot of it is down to 45% is down to food preparation. 21% is down to spoilage, which is happening just by products. They're ordering too many products and it's just going out of date and expiring. And 34% is coming back from customer plates. So where the portion sizes are too big, and people have, a lot of the industries now are cutting down on buffets because there is huge waste of hotel buffets. And you see these ones, particularly, in the Middle East, and you see a lot in hotels now are actually moving away from large breakfast buffets. And they're taking orders at tables and bringing the food to customers and trying to reduce that waste. There's also, because of the pandemic that's happening, people are doing that for hygienic reasons and to be safe. But actually, it's the right thing to do because the wastage levels of these food will be reduced instead of having these huge buffets that we used to do in Dubai, which would probably stretch 200-300 meters sometimes for a lot of people with huge amounts of food. It's about thinking how we reduce that and how we get on top of that. So the real question is, so how can technology help? There is so much to monitor and manage. It's almost impossible to do this manually. 37 years ago when I started, we did everything on paper. We didn't do a lot of administrational work because we just ran the restaurants, we made food and we sold it, and then somebody would figure out some figures in finance. But actually, from a food and beverage operations point of view, the role of a chef and a manager within operations is become more about understanding. It's not just about serving customers and making food, where many years ago, that's all their focus was. Now it's about understanding about how do we cost things? How do we monitor waste? How do we manage payroll? How do we manage control of our operations? And a lot of these chefs and managers now have to do this in these operations. It is not just about cooking food and serving it to customers and keeping them happy. That is part of what a lot of these operations need to do. But now there's a huge administrational burden upon restaurants and hotel operators that they need to manage all of this. And it takes time to do this. So technology is being used extensively across all types of businesses to manage the things we've been talking about waste, about cost control, about payroll, and all these things. Is people are turning to technology because they don't have the resources. They can't just employ lots of people to keep on doing this. And businesses are looking at, particularly now, is they're looking at how they're going to look at their staffing levels, how they can still be profitable with rising prices of products and customers wanting to drive this cost down from a product point of view and menu point of view. So it's becoming really sort of important that the operators have the technology to help them to deliver that. So where is technology? What technology is used in hotels and restaurants? So point of sale. So those tills you see in those operations, the electronic point of sale, they've been around for years, but the technology has moved on hugely, to the extent where actually point of sale systems are now tablet based or iPhone based or whatever it is that they're using now. It's moved on from the old days of having a big sort of EPOS till with lots of big buttons on it and trying to sort of manage that. Now it's a lot more agile, and there's a lot more businesses that are moving to sort of point of sale. And interesting, when you look at point of sale and what's happened, over time, people are moving away from cash. And we've seen a huge difference in this across the industry, particularly where a lot of people would, 50% would pay in cash and 50% will be using cards. Because of what's happened, because, and the pandemic that's happened, this has been accelerated. A lot more people are not using cash and using their devices and using payment technology to do that as well. So that's really moved on from the point of sale point of view. And then the reservation system. So booking your reservation, booking your hotel room. This is all done online. And a lot of that has been taken away. So people, they don't have such large sales teams or reservation teams within hotels and restaurants to be able to deal with that because it's all done electronically. And that is becoming greater and greater as part of that. and the whole guest management element of it. So knowing what guests like, recording that against their profile within their businesses, and knowing whether they like a soft pillow or a hard pillow, or what drinks they like, or what they would like in their minibar. And understanding that is really, really important to enhance customer experience. And it's really fascinating when you go into businesses. I was in a hotel before lockdown that I've been to on a number of occasions, and they knew everything about me because of the things I've ordered before. They asked me in the restaurant, would you like the same wine you had last time when you were here? Because it was a Chardonnay and we've got a different year. And knowing that is then enhancing all of the guests' interaction as part of that. So technology plays a huge role in dealing with that and making people understand who your customers are, when are they coming to you, and understanding what they're ordering and what their movements are within your restaurant or your hotel. Obviously, revenue management has been around for some time, but that technology has moved on again to understand not only what revenue you're taking, but what are we forecasting? What are we going to see coming into our business? What are we predicting is going to happen in 3 and 6 and 12 months' time? Obviously, the current situation is making that more difficult to manage, but people are using technology to better understand of where they're going to go in the future as well. Purchasing and receiving, and using easy technology, using devices and tablets and smartphones to do that. Inventory and stock management is then again using these devices to manage that instead of doing huge work. You know, when I started in kitchens, we would and hotels, we would spend days and hours, you know, taking stock, because you physically have to write down what's inside your operations. Now with barcodes and QR codes on products, the whole thing is speeded up through that whole process. And we have one of our businesses we work with. It's a big resort hotel in Wales in the UK, and it's got 17 restaurants inside it. And they used to take between 5 and 6 days to take inventory and stock across the entire resort. It was over 300 acres, 3 golf courses, big banqueting facilities up to 5,000. So big operation. And it took the whole business 5 to 6 days every month to take stock and inventory of all those items and get the results out. Now they use our technology to do that, and the whole process takes them 4 hours. And that's like 30 people. Instead of taking 5 days, that's 30 people taking 4 hours each. So you've saved yourself 4.5 days worth of work just by using technology. So there's a prime example. So people are looking for ways to do that. Waste management and controlling that, whether you record that in a system, there's now technology that there is bins, scales that you put underneath your bins, and it has the artificial intelligence that when you throw something into the bin, it recognizes what that is through the camera, through artificial intelligence, and then records that and tracks that in your waste management. Things are really moving on, you know, in all of these areas. Rosters, timesheets, they've been going along for some time, but now we've got thumbprints where you check in and check out. It picks up your mobile device as soon as you walk into the hotel, tells you HR when you arrived. You know, all of that sort of detail is huge. And that rolls into sort of payroll and HR systems, and then into accounts and financial management. So what's new in technology? And the key thing that's really accelerated since the pandemic started is the order at table and order at home for delivery and collection and digital menus. So this is, many of you have probably used this and seen this in restaurants previously as well. But, you know, across the world, this has accelerated hugely. Well, a lot of operations, some may have that. And, you know, when they're ordering takeaways and deliveries, some of these businesses have that. But now you're seeing this in hotels, you're seeing this in restaurants, you're seeing this on golf courses, in spas, you know, all types of businesses that are using it as a piece of technology to then actually allow the customer to not have to touch menus. So a lot of businesses now are actually moving away from physical menus and paper menus, and then allowing the customer to place their order on their devices, and then it will be brought to their table. And what was interesting, we released this right at the start of the pandemic onto our technology. And we have a customer that's got 62 sites of pubs across the UK. And where they've had restricted space within their business, and they're having to do a lot of it in their beer gardens, and they have to close down certain sections and put less tables within their business, they're actually doing less covers than they were before, but actually taking more revenue than they did per person. So their revenues are as high as they were below the pandemic because they're using technology to do the ordering so they can actually get things to their table a lot quicker. And from an operations point of view, they need less people. They don't need to print menus, so there's a savings on costs, and all of that sort of paper production and laminating of that and putting it in plastic covers, and it doesn't have to be done anymore. It's all done digitally. So it's becoming really, really powerful to use the use of technology in digital menus. And in hotels, what they're doing now is you can then pre-order and book your hotel, and you can tailor your visit. Before you arrive at the hotel. Self-check-in is becoming more and more used as part of that, and you can check in on your way or as you walk into the building on your device. And that's helping that and allowing people to have less contact. Some hotels, really busy hotels, have really a lot of difficulty when you've got peaks and troughs in your business, and you may have 3 people at reception trying to check in 150 people at the same time. That takes time, and customers get frustrated with that. So where you're using self-check-in, it just speeds up that process from a customer journey point of view. Obviously, order at table, digital menus still apply in restaurants. Room service ordering can be done on tablets and phones on your own devices. And a lot of hotels are now putting devices into that. And when I was in the Four Seasons Hotel, when I was in India, they had a tablet, and you could then order, I need an ironing board, an iron. And I just order it, and somebody says, yeah, no problem, Mr. Wood, it's on its way up to you. And, little things like that, ask for a wake-up call, anything can be done all through devices. And people are using this more and more. And also, as you can see on the image there, people are using that instead of having key cards. So where key cards, again, plastic, producing lots of plastic, and we want to reduce the plastic production in the world really as part of that. Instead of having key cards, you can just have your details put onto your phone, and you can check into your room, hold your device up to the door, and it will open for you. And there's a whole load of technology looking around, sort of electronic concierge. So you can order things like my ironing board, for example. You can control your lighting, you can control music, you can control your curtains in your room. You can have digital newspapers instead of buying all these newspapers and having these lying around the hotel and having to buy that. All your customers can download their paper they want. They can read the paper that they want instead of having to deliver that to every single room around the business. So having digital technology within hotels and restaurants is really useful from a customer journey point of view. And where we spend huge amounts of time, doing that and printing in-room directories and having to change those directories when one of the pages needs to change, and you've got to go around a 900-bedroom hotel to change one page inside the directory. Now it can all be done electronically. And that just saves time, on a lot of business, so they can actually focus on the customer service element and not spend, so much time just doing daily administrational tasks. So that's really sort of talk about the whole sort of technology element of it, and understanding that technology is the future. A lot of people may sort of ask the question, actually, is technology going to ruin the industry? Is it going to make less jobs available in the industry? And the answer is no. Actually, hotels are not looking at it as a payroll saving; they're looking at it as a customer enhancement. So where restaurants and hotels typically spend a lot of time doing these sort of administrational tasks and delivering things and changing in-room directories, they can spend more time on, focusing on hygiene in rooms, from a housekeeping point of view, and enhancing the customer experience as well, whereby sort of delivering better levels of service and spending more time, with the customers, and be able to, have that conversation with them instead of having to rush around and not be able to deliver the levels of service that you want to. So it is the future, and whether people do like it or don't like it, there is the demand, on hotels and restaurants to enhance this technology and embrace this technology, and it is really becoming a sort of major part of people when they check into hotels in 5-10 years' time. If there's not a tablet in the room that allows them to do some simple tasks within the room and place some orders and order some room service, they'll be disappointed. And it's the thing about all of this technology is we need to understand that there is still the people out there, so some of the sort of the older generation that don't like using technology, and want to still be served in the traditional way. So this will be a transitional period that could take 5, 10, 15, 20 years as people start to embrace it. But there's been a huge acceleration because of the pandemic. And we've been forced into embracing technology a lot more as part of that whole process. So it is critical, it is key, and as people that are the second and third year from the industry point of view, to understand that and to realise that how important technology will play in the hospitality industry, and how much you need to understand what effect that's going to have on you. As somebody that's going in the industry, whether you're working, in the kitchens, or whether you're working front of house in restaurants or in housekeeping or reception, it's going to affect the way that you work and how you work within that. So it's fascinating, and the world is changing. And like I say, the pandemic has accelerated most of that anyhow. Would like to just open up the floor really to any sort of questions that anybody wanted to send through, or how you wanted to do that, Sanjay.
Thank you very much, sir. Chef, it was a wonderfully explained PowerPoint, and I think it was very, very relevant. And the questions have already started coming in. And before I throw open the questions, I had two questions, actually one question with two connotations from my side, which I would like to ask you.
Yes.
I would like to know how, because we always had this love-hate relationship with technology, especially people in the hospitality industry. There were times 30 years back when I joined the industry, computers were slowly coming into the industry, into the organizations, and people were thinking that as soon as the computers come in, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. And what actually happened was, as the computers came in, new technology came in, you needed more and more people. You needed a lot of people in the IT department. You needed people who would run these technologies. You needed people who would be training people on these technologies. And I would like to ask you on the front, as far as the chefs are concerned, back office or chefs. How do you think over the last 1 decade, the control over wastages, the control over food cost has been enhanced by the technologies?
Yeah, I think exactly that. Over the last decade, we in hotels and kitchens, around the world that I worked in, a lot of this was either not done very well, or it wasn't done at all. From a waste point of view, somebody would write something in a book occasionally, and somebody would put that in an Excel spreadsheet. So it wasn't really resolving or dealing with waste. It just highlighted a number and probably a financial figure to that. And where in operations, before people would do costings in Excel, it was very labor intensive way of doing that. And subsequently, a lot of businesses would not do that particularly well. And it was hugely time consuming. And I don't think there's a danger of people needing less chefs, because actually what was happening then is the chefs weren't spending enough time doing innovation and development and training of their young chefs as well. And that was not happening particularly well in a lot of businesses that I saw. But by applying technology, that allows the chefs then to free up some time where they would be doing probably 20, maybe even 30 hours a week of administrational tasks. They can now do the whole lot in 4 or 5 hours. Now they can spend time with their teams. They can look at mentoring. They can look at coaching, training, and looking at retention of their chefs as well. And that can only be a good thing for the industry. So I say embrace it. And it's going to be hugely beneficial for senior and junior people in operations.
Thank you very much, Chef. I have a question here from Sinchan Mukherjee, whose question has a very simple answer, but I would like to rework the question a little bit. So he says, do you feel that there is going to be a situation where we will remove all the human influence and automate all the processes in the kitchen? Is it possible at all?
I mean, technology is moving on, and there is some worries that people are saying. I saw something on YouTube the other day, and it was a robot that was flipping burgers, which is fine. Flipping burgers is quite an easy task to do as part of that. I think we're a long way away from it. I think technology will enhance, and cooking ovens and cooking equipment as well as part of that is going to enhance that and make it easier for chefs. There is a sort of question generically: is that going to de-skill that as part of this sort of the culinary abilities? I think we're always going to need chefs to manage that, and I think that's going to be for a long time still. Because you can't just have a robot doing everything and tasting and checking and checking whether products are still fresh and at the top of their ability. There's going to be always needed a human interaction as part of that. And again, I think technology will enhance wastage. It will enhance reduction. If you're cooking things properly, it won't shrink so much as part of that, and then you can get better profitability out of it. But you still need the human there to map and track that as part of it.
Thank you, Chef. Wonderful question again from Rajan Chauhan from Hyderabad, IIHM Hyderabad. He asks, if I'm opening a new restaurant, how do you think I should choose the technology that I want to use in my restaurant?
The thing about technology, we get a lot of customers saying to you, I want a piece of technology that does everything. And you won't find it. I'll tell you that now. Because you need to choose best in class. And you need to, if you're opening a restaurant, is what's really important to me as a business? What is going to make sure I'm successful and making sure that, I can then deal with that first. And typically every restaurant needs a point of sale. And every restaurant needs some sort of costing management system to make sure you're selling the things at the price you should be selling them for. And that is just the basic, for me, the essentials of opening up a restaurant. Waste control and all these other things you can add technology later on. And my advice there is always buy best in class. Always buy the best thing. And modern technology now, not so much the older technology, but modern technology all talks to each other. So you just plug it all in and they just slot in together and they all talk to each other across that process. So start with what's important to you as an operator and what you want to control and manage, and that will keep you in business, which is managing costs and controls, and then slowly add technology as you want to grow that.
I think, Karthik, you also got a reply to your question, which was regarding to choosing of softwares for inventory and reduce wastage reduction. I think you already got an answer for your question. I'm going to the next question, which again deals with use of technology. Will it reduce? No, Chef has already answered that it is not going to reduce the requirement of chefs. Saket Kumar Pandey from Kolkata is asking, with evolving technology, how can we bring more technology in hand of 2-star and 3-star hotels in countries like India to keep the process glitch free? Because we depend a lot on technology, there could be problems as far as glitches coming in, or some kind of a report lagging, etc. How do we keep ourselves abreast?
I think the days of technology and the glitches and fixes that happen, even in the time where we've been running our technology business 9 years ago, where there was a lot of things that we had to deal with on a sort of weekly basis. And now, because of the way technology is and how more robust it is a fraction of the time that we used to spend on that. And that will develop in time, and the people will develop more robust technology. There is obviously, with any piece of technology, there is a chance that it stops or it does things it shouldn't do. And that is just the nature of it. That's the same as human beings. You tell a chef to do something, he doesn't always do it, and that's just a technical version of it. So there's just ways of doing and managing that. Ultimately, as chefs, from a culinary point of view, there's always a manual workaround on everything we do, as part of that. So technology is just enhancing the way we do things. If for some reason your mechanical burger flipper robot is not working, you can put somebody on that will do that. So a lot of this technology is in answer to that question, is there's less and less glitches that are happening because of the quality of the technology that's coming out there. It's really easy from a food and beverage management point of view to deal with that. Ultimately we're about serving food to customers, so that still can happen as part of that. So from a customer experience, you may have some glitches in some of the financial reporting that needs to be fixed later on, but ultimately you can still serve your customers.
Chef, one more question talks about how does technology or software enhance the recipe writing and maintaining of recipes?
The typical thing, the main part of what we do within Kitchen Cut is the recipe writing, and what we do with that is we connect up the recipes or the products you're buying from your suppliers with allergens and nutritional information. So when you're writing recipes, that data is then flowing automatically through into all of your recipes. So you've got allergens, which are becoming more and more important and growing globally as a major issue, and nutritional data, where people want to start to know about what are the calorific values that sit within that. And typically before, you would have to manually do that and rely on an individual to tick those boxes, which is really dangerous, particularly when you're talking like gluten and peanuts and nuts, where you can kill somebody. So you're relying on the technology to do that and speed up that process and give you a higher level of accuracy. And the nutritional data is a lot of people are looking to want to know that from a customer point of view. So, and then when the supplier changes the price, you don't want to wait a week until somebody changes that in accounts. You want it instantly. So you change the price of beef. I want to know now what I need to sell this dish for to make sure I'm making the margins and the profit. Not a week later or 2 weeks later, by the time the accounts get around to adjust that, and I've gone through all my recipes and manually adjusted my costings on those. You want that instantly, so you can make quick, financial, educated decisions on your business and make adjustments to that.
So, what what you're saying is, just to summarize for them, you're saying that you have a robust software which when you are writing a recipe takes care of the material, the raw material, about the prices of the raw material, about the quantities of the raw material, about the storage, and it also combines the nutritional value. It also combines all these features which are there in the final product of the recipe, which you obviously need to present to the guest. Like, for example, what are the allergens there in the recipe? what is the nutritional value of a product that you are serving to the recipe that you need to put into your menu. That's what
Correct.
you are. It's all combined into this technology.
Correct. And if you decide to change from one mayonnaise supplier to another, and one of them's got celery and gluten in, and the other one's got mustards and peanuts in because it's using peanut oil, as soon as you change that, you want all of your recipes and all of your menus to change instantly. Because if you forget one in banqueting that you've got to put that in, that's got mayonnaise in one of the recipes, and you forget to do that, that can be catastrophic to a customer. You want that instant, when you change that within a millisecond, that's all changed all of your specifications. Yeah.
There is a very cliched question, from you can say this could be a question from somebody who wants to become a chef. He says, is nowadays authenticity of a dish very important in today's world, in today's food production world? And how do you train your team in authenticity? This is a very classic chefy question for you.
Yeah, when we looked at, I'll take Dubai for example, because we have 37 restaurants and 37 different types of cuisines that we were serving in that, from Southeast Asian to Indian to Nepalese to Mexican. And when you're looking at authenticity, it is absolutely critical, and more so now than ever before, because people have traveled a lot more. They know what great Chinese food should taste like, or Thai food. So authenticity, 15 years ago, you could get away with anything. You could put coriander and chili in something and call it Thai and nobody would know, or even 20 years ago. But nowadays, people know the difference between good and bad and authentic, cuisine types. So training, so understanding authenticity and understanding what you're serving is authentic, and you're buying the best products and potentially using the right products, to represent that cuisine. And then the second part of that question was to how do you then drive that authenticity within the teams? And that is really, it's going back to proper specifications. This is how we make things. These are the products we're using, and don't deviate from that, any way at all, and have proper specs with videos and pictures. This is how you produce the dish, and explain to the teams why we're doing something this way and why we're roasting the chilies off beforehand and not just chopping them up and throwing them in there to get that different flavor profile from that. So really important to explain everything and why you're doing things.
So it's basically a lot of training is involved. A lot of commitment is involved in authenticity. That's what chef is.
Yeah, and that's why we still need chefs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. One very technology centric question, which says, is there a concern, or is it safe for the guest as well as the hotel property to use excess technologies? I think he means to say the technologies that are used for accessibility in the hotels for various services. Is it safe for the guest as well as the organization?
Yeah, I think nowadays, there was always concerns, are mobile phones safe? Are we all going to, die using them? And, nobody really knows long term, what the long term effects of that is. But typically, guests that go into hotels are on their devices anyhow, whether they're looking at news or just, sending messages through WhatsApp or whatever it is. And they're using your, first thing every time you go into a hotel, first thing somebody asks for is, what's the Wi-Fi code? So you go into that. So everybody's using that technology and using the Wi-Fi and 3G anyhow. It's just that, by being able to do your ordering and everything through the, it just enhances that. So I don't foresee that being an issue, because people are using their devices anyhow. They're taking pictures of their food and sending it onto their Facebook and Twitter and all their social media and sending it through. So I don't think it's actually any more than what people are doing already. So I don't think it's going to be a drastic change now.
Great, Chef. Chef, this was wonderful. I think we don't have any more questions on the chat box. I would like to, there is one more. Is it true that the use of new energy efficient stoves Just a second, let me. Is it true that the use of new energy efficient stoves often means changing age-old cooking traditions?
There is an effect on that, and I've over the years, we've moved away from, in some places for various reasons, whether it's to reduce heat as well. We put induction stoves into places, and there is some benefits of doing that and using different energy. Will it take away traditional flavors? Yes, for sure. If you're going to cook chicken in a tandoor oven, and you're going to roast it in an electronic, programmed, Rational oven, it's going to have a different flavor profile. So there is still a need for classical cooking techniques. And, what's always interesting is, there over the last 5-10 years, there's a lot of more charcoal ovens coming back into the industry, and big companies like Josper and people like that are using charcoal again and going back to getting authenticity of flavors, as we talked about before. So cooking a steak on an electric grill or cooking it in a charcoal oven that goes up to 500 degrees centigrade, it's going to taste different. And so
Yeah,
authenticity.
Even the modern pizza ovens are going back to the tradition. They are a good blend between the traditional wood-fired ovens and modern technology. That's also wonderful. I think, Chef, that is the end of the questions. We had a wonderful session, and it was very, lot of innovations you told us about. You told us about a lot of technologies. You also told us how technology is changing the hospitality world, how it is going to change the back end and the front end of the industry, and how this common perception that the technology is going to replace humans, which has always been there, a part of the folklore, is how wrong that perception is, and how along with the technology, the training and the techniques of the people are going to improve with the time, and of course things are going to become easier and easier, how it has been happening over the last so many years. And I would like to thank all the students for listening in patiently, and of course from all of us I would like to thank Chef John Wood for coming, taking out his time from a very busy schedule, I know, to come and talk to our students. And as you know, Chef John, these lectures are no longer only lectures as guest lectures. We already have advised our students that these lectures are a major big addition to your academics, to your curriculum. And because we already teach hospitality technology, we teach entrepreneurship, so it is all going to add to their repertoire of information and knowledge that they are seeking and looking for.
Yeah.
And on behalf of everyone here at IIHM, I thank you once again, Chef John, for a valuable time, and thank you very much. And we wish you a wonderful part of the day ahead. Thank you very much, Chef, and hope to see you soon again.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Thank you very much, Sanjay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Chef.
Thank you. Okay, bye.